The next candidate needs no introduction. You'll know his name, but you might have never seen him. But we all know his reputation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Dr. Eric Payne.
Thanks everyone for being here. It's great to see everybody out and being involved, which is what I've decided I need to do, step up and be even more involved than I've been the last 4 years. I think a lot of people do know a lot about me, but just a little bit of background. I grew up in Ottawa. Faith, family, freedom, those are a charity. Those are definitely 4 of the hallmarks of the Payne family. My dad was a forensic accountant, and he also was the Minister of Wheat's Chief of Staff under the Mulroney government. So I grew up listening to politics all the time and wanting nothing to do with it, frankly. So I headed into medicine instead. Came out to Calgary in 2003 with my brother. He's 2 years younger. We were both starting medical school at the University of Calgary. I stayed here to complete a 5-year pediatric neurology residency program, and he went back. He's in Ontario and Toronto, unfortunately. Our third brother is in Ottawa, and so he's far away as well. But nonetheless, close family. And after 5 years of peds neurology, I went out to the hospital for sick children. I was supposed to come back to Alberta Children's Hospital after finishing a fellowship in neurocritical care and epilepsy. But unfortunately, there was a hiring freeze in Alberta at the time, and I got recruited to Mayo Clinic instead. So I spent 6 years in what I will always consider to be the epitome of healthcare delivery. Very fortunate to be there. Came back to the Children's Hospital. At this point now, my wife and I had added 2 more children, so we have 3 kids, aged 6, 8, and 10. 2 of them were born in the U.S. They're United States citizens. But we thought we were returning back to Calgary, where I had the job that I'd worked for a long time. My wife is from Brandon, Manitoba. Tons of family and friends here as well. But very shortly, we all discovered that things were maybe not what we thought they were going to be. And so I think, at this point, we have no choice but to advocate and to stand up. What I find very frustrating is to listen to a lot of the healthcare being spread and listening to our premier get attacked when she comes up advocating on behalf of children against when she's got the high ground on the science and she gets hit for it. There's got to be a way, and I'm hoping by being a medical person that we can help sort of stand back and push back against that. And I do believe that it's certainly possible, but I think there are not enough physicians who are engaged right now in politics. There's certainly a lot on the NDP side. You see them tweeting and knocking down our party and our premier. That being said, I think it's time for us to stand up.
How many complaints have been filed against you by the
I'm up to 6.
These are like almost badges of honor now. Like it's almost as if you're one of the few physicians, and you're tell me the exact title you're a specialist with.
I'm a child neurologist, and I specialize in epilepsy neurocritical care.
So when you and I tend to talk, you get. So we have to be very careful here tonight.
These are the kind of decisions that are tough because, my family, there's no doubt, over the last 4 years has been difficult. After being just part of the Injection for Truth event, just for participating, a complaint was lodged asking, why is Dr. Payne participating in an event sanctioned by the UCP? That was in brackets, wasn't anything actually on the complaint. But participating in an event with rogue physicians and scientists who have been discredited. I don't want Dr. Payne to speak at this event, and I get this complaint, weeks after speaking at the event, and then, on the surface it seems nonsense, but at the same time it takes a lot of time and effort to go through this. So, being part of this, I think, definitely adds to that target. The complaints, just to be clear, I mean, they all, I went through 4 complaints in the span of about 6 months, starting in the fall of 2021. Starting with a letter that I wrote to the college themselves, the college council members, speaking about my concern about especially as it pertained to children. And, there was, somebody in the community I never met that filed a complaint. And then shortly thereafter, a colleague actually filed a complaint, both essentially for misinformation. And the time and effort to respond to those things was enormous. But despite 2 years of investigation, 2 anonymous experts who never had to reveal their bias or who they were or their training, who found me preliminary guilty of misinformation and unprofessionalism, the college actually dismissed both those complaints in the last few months.
I remember that first letter that you wrote. It was a watershed moment for speaking the truth. It seemed that at that particular time, there was no one on the medical professional side that would speak and provide, say, an alternative perspective for people to actually have informed consent. So people could actually think about it, ask some questions, and then come to a conclusion. And you were asking very valid scientific questions. And generally, our conversations have to do with science and learning about actual hands-on practices. So now we have politics for you. I mean, this seems to be the same, given all of the politics. I mean, look how much politics you've dealt with just to be a doctor. I mean, it's incredible. And that has to be very stressful because that's the kind of politics where they can take away your livelihood with these, I'm going to say this, you don't say this, frivolous complaints. So you're going to be in the limelight, you're going to be a potential target for the NDP. Do you relish that, or how do you think you're going to handle that?
Well, I mean, medicine and science is not consensus-based, right? I mean, the idea that you can have a consensus opinion and that was going to be right was always nonsense. It's completely counterintuitive. And as somebody who wrote that letter hoping to engage in discussion, right, I had no desire to fight with the college, no desire to pick a fight. I was being coerced to take the mandate in order to keep a job that I just moved back from the States, highlighting the science. But from day one, I have always wanted to engage and talk and debate. I mean, I'm not hiding from that discussion. The side who's hiding from the discussion is the one who doesn't show up to Injection for Truth. It's the side that, defames and censors and, but does not actually fight for the facts. That the facts have not mattered has been a learning thing for me to come to the grips with. But for instance, the current NDP healthcare critic, Dr. Luann Metz, is a neurologist. Ran in Foothills, just got elected. She was actually a staff member of mine when I was a neurology resident for at least a couple of days. When I get to listen to the facts being stated, they're just not. And in real time, I could spit them back. And I would love that opportunity. So I'm not shying away from that at all.
Are you suggesting that we should have a debate between you and Leanne Metz?
Absolutely.
Is this a little like the Iron Bridal debate with Tim Caulfield? I mean, I think we could sell tickets for this.
Well, the big difference there is that Luann Metz is actually a qualified neurologist, right? Tim Caulfield is not qualified in science. He's a lawyer, and he's bought and paid for by the Trudeau Foundation. Those are facts. Luann Metz, full-on neurologist who actually was in charge of the trial in Alberta, and it was shut down after those 2 trials came out, one in Lancet, one I think was New England Journal of Medicine, right after President Trump suggested that might be effective. Both of those big, huge trials, they got redacted because they were totally, and yet the trial in Alberta that was looking to see if hydroxychloroquine could work to keep you out of the hospital never got started back up. And she was responsible for that as far as I can tell.
Dr. Eric Payne, everybody, big round of applause. he just came to the end of his time limit. I had more questions, but I just figured I better stop there to keep him from getting another complaint filed against him.